I'm David Wigglesworth, Head of the Northern Europe region at SFS. The highlights of 2024 have really been an interesting period. Obviously, it's been the first year that we've really come out of that dramatic COVID period. The industry has been in a state of flux, and immediately coming out, we had high demand, high raw material prices, high inflation, and now we can see the market is really settling into its new norm. The industry saw a decline of 2.9% in construction output in 2024. The good news is that the forecast for 2025 is potentially a 2% recovery. Clearly that brings opportunity for us, but during the year that we've just had in 2024, there was a number of highlights where we focused on really driving more customer centricity within our organisation. It probably isn't that transparent yet because it's a journey and it's something that has to be worked on continuously, and it's more of a culture, it's not an initiative, but we almost want to have the customer integral to our DNA as a business. And so through that, we're working on a number of improvement processes within our organisation, looking at digitalisation, looking at how we improve our efficiencies, but also looking at the last mile, as we would call it, which is from our dispatch to receipt on site. Within the construction industry, site receipt is very, very important. And it's how we actually manage to get that last mile to a more reliable and better service for our customers that can receive and crack on with what they're there to do within the build of that project. Outside of that, clearly, sustainability is another major topic for us. We continue to work very, very hard with our sustainability strategies. We were one of the first to bring out EPDs for our products. We do a lot of responsible sourcing across our entire organisation, not just in the UK. So sustainability in 2024 continued to be a number one priority for our agenda. And linked to this, of course, we need to keep driving forward with how we embed that into the organisation. We've done all the easy things, but clearly there are always more that we can do. Partnerships is a word that's been overused, in my opinion. In the past, everybody went through a period of saying, let's develop a partnership. But a true partnership is invisible almost. It's a way of working. And what we need to do is ensure that we can embed and add value to the customer value, which links into our customer centricity focus, because we should be part of that process of the design and the build of the projects that we support and we deliver with our customers. Not only in terms of the construction, but the performance of the product and the application of the product should be designed into the standards that are currently driving us forward, and also with our customers within their market. All of this clearly now is becoming far more focused with the introduction of the Building Safety Act. The Building Safety Act, as we know, came out of that dreadful tragedy of Grenfell. But at last, I think the industry is now realising that it has to do something to address the weaknesses that created that tragedy. With the Building Safety Act, our industry will start to transform and change. The construction industry is probably going through one of the biggest changes in my career. And I've been in the manufacturing to supply into construction for 30 years now. I think it's, first of all being driven from the Building Safety Act, as we've previously mentioned, which is very, very important following that dreadful tragedy of Grenfell. And what's coming out of there now is almost a little bit of a redirection from the period we went through in the 90s of design and build back to more traditional specification, but not quite as far back as it used to be. So now what we're seeing more regulation being brought in. We've seen more accountability to the design of the build. And with that, we're seeing more control of those processes that come with that. The Building Safety Act is obviously bringing a lot of bureaucracy for specifiers, consultants, and contractors alike. But equally, I think it's welcome bureaucracy to control the governance of how we build for the future. Within there, from us as a manufacturer, that means that we need to comply equally as much as anybody else, as a specifier or as a consultant. And with that compliance, with the application of our product, we need to be very, very knowledgeable about how our product is applied and to guide in how that product is applied and installed. But we are clearly not the designer, we are the manufacturer. So our responsibility is really to comply that our people have the knowledge of our products and understand how to distill that and share that knowledge for the designers to take their decisions in that design. But the regulation that we're following through that to demonstrate our accreditation through this is the CCPI, which is about how we're audited to ensure that our people understand our products, they understand where we are placing our application know-how and our knowledge, but also that we're version releasing and controlling our documentation to make sure the current documentation is available and released both online and through our added value sales teams that are out there supporting our industry. As well as regulation, the industry is also changing in the way that it needs to build. And modern methods of construction is one of those biggest changes that's coming through. This was first introduced in the 2025 construction edict, going back to the Conservative government many years ago, where they brought in the edict to become more sustainable, more efficient, but also to build in an off-site environment that would de-risk the construction site, bringing greater safety to the build in the way we operate on our sites. Modern methods of construction for many, many years has been out there. When you look at site cabins, they are built in a factory condition. And all MMCE is doing is taking it to the next level and actually looking at how we build housing, how we build offices, hospitals, schools in that factory controlled environment. The benefits that this brings, of course, is that your tolerances are much tighter because you're building in a factory environment. You're far safer on site with erection because the build goes up in half the time and is modularized. So it's actually going together almost as a big kit is the way to put this. But our industry clearly has got a lot of legacy and is slow to change, but is slow to change for all the right reasons. So modern methods of construction, whilst it's been talked about for many years, is still evolving, but still growing. And I'm sure that in years to come, we will start to see that being the shape of how we see our buildings being built. In addition to modern methods of construction, obviously we've already mentioned about sustainability. That's another key driver that is changing the way that the industry has to be accountable with increased U-value, making sure that the builds are thermally efficient and perform far greater than they ever have done in terms of heat loss and energy costs. Over and above all of this wraps digitalisation, and that ultimately is about the golden thread of data. So the accountability of how the building's been built is about the golden thread of data in terms of what's gone into that build. Right from the very offset of the design and the concept, we start to build that data of that golden thread through to the operational and in use. And this all nicely wraps around about what the Building Safety Act is about.